Should I work towards forgiveness? Myself, 36, and my husband, 38, have been together for over 11 years now. We have 3 kids. Halfway through my last pregnancy, his demeanor completely changed. At the time both of us were working full-time and I was extremely swollen. I work 12 to 14-hour shifts and I'm on my feet for about 80% of that time. He would not touch me. I could not convince him to rub my back or anything. This went on for months. By the time I made it to 36 weeks I had severe blood pressure issues and had to be induced. Since our first child, I have known that he was not a great partner during the birthing process. However, this time was just plain horrible. I was in labor over 36 hours and he wouldn't sit next to me because he said that the chair was uncomfortable. So he decided to just stay over on the couch on the other side of the room. I was in horrible pain most of the time and I couldn't convince him to give me a massage except for one 5-minute foot massage to shut me up, and that took a lot of begging. Eventually I give birth and I'm discharged from the hospital. However, that same day I had to go to the emergency room and be readmitted because my blood pressure was around 200/100ths and I wasn't discharged with blood pressure medication. While I was in the hospital again he continued to be horrible because he had to be home with the kids. On my last day in the hospital, my liver enzymes were elevated and the doctor was planning on doing a scan the next morning to figure out why. My husband accused me of wanting to stay in the hospital and asked if I could just get it done outpatient so that I could come home. When I got home my blood pressure was still out of control. There would be times that it would be extremely high and I would try to just take my medication and lay down, but he would yell at me for not taking the baby. I was advised not to drive, and my blood pressure was still regularly over 170s, but my husband would be angry at me because I didn't feel comfortable driving with my blood pressure so high. When my BP would get really high we would get into arguments because he would refuse to take me to the emergency room. When he went to work I would stay at my cousin's house so they could help with the kids. When he would get off of work he would refuse to come and pick me and the kids up, and when he did I had to beg him to. After about 6 months, I started to improve and I got on a better medication regimen. Then he started acting normal again. I still get flashbacks of the yelling and how cold he was even when I would ask him to just lay next to me. I have explained to him how horrible he was and he has apologized. He explained to me that he was scared and overwhelmed. He said that he wishes that he could take it all back. He refuses to go to counseling. This issue is that I am struggling to forgive him for this behavior. Typically forgiveness comes easily for me, but this I know I will have to actively work at. I know all marriages have their things and unfortunately spouses have the potential to hurt you the most, but I wonder if this is just too much to forgive. I have been feeling so numb towards him since this has happened and I think maybe I can forgive him if I try harder. I just don't know if it is healthy for me knowing that if tragedy strikes he possibly won't be willing to care for me. You might be having trouble forgiving him because you know that he's not truly sorry. He is sorry that you're upset with him. He is just a selfish person. There was no reason he couldn't rub your back when you were pregnant. He refused to go to any effort for you. Selfish. He wouldn't sit with you during labor because it was uncomfortable. Selfish. He was focused on how your illness affected him. Selfish. He was stressed by your illness because it gave him work to do. Selfish. He didn't care how you felt, he only cared how he felt. Selfish. Your marriage is basically over because of his cruelty, but he refuses to go to counseling. Selfish. He has shown that he's a good time guy, rather than a in sickness and in health till death do us part kind of guy. You're not struggling to forgive something he did wrong. You've actually realized who he is as a human and a husband and you don't like it. Edit to add, kids do just fine with divorced parents. They don't do well in a home with a terrible husband being modeled for them. Don't stay just for the kids. He sounds like a horrible person who only acts normal when it's convenient for him. He kept putting his wife and children at risk. If I were up I would consider a divorce. Wow, I understand your difficulties in finding a way to forgive him. He was intensely selfish and self-serving. His actions were potentially murderous in regards to his lack of care for you. If you had died, and you could have, his lack of care to your children would have then put them at risk. My advice is to take whatever action you feel is necessary to protect yourself and your children. You deserve more than a fair weather husband. The marriage vows says in sickness and in health. Think about it this way, you could have died just because he was uncomfortable. I get it, he was scared, but weren't you too? Everyone? Do you think that's balanced? Any inconveniences that could be dangerous for you but scary for him could happen again any time in the future. You want to be prepared being left all alone for your struggle again? You know exactly why you haven't forgiven him, because you know if there was a big issue he wouldn't be any support. That's one of the most important parts of partnership. I mean, I'm sure in your vows as in most it says sickness and health. He didn't hold up his end of the bargain because he was too focused on his own issues to be even kind to you, much less supportive in any way. He only stopped once you were healthy enough to take care of things again. Some of his behavior can be chalked up to stress, but what stress? New baby? Couldn't be that because it didn't get better when the baby came. Work issues? Well, that's no excuse to treat your spouse poorly. Money issues? Again, it only stopped when you were able to do things again. It's not like he got some big financial relief immediately after you got your health under control. Stress because you were ill? Well, that would be even worse because he definitely shouldn't be taking that out on some sick and suffering. Don't let him just blanket his behavior by saying it was stress. That's an excuse and you know it. We can't help how we feel, but we can help how we behave. Behavior is a choice and he chose every day to mistreat you. So either he was incredibly selfish and wallowing in his own emotion even though you were going through something potentially life-threatening for both you and the baby, or he's lying about why he behaved that way and stress is his excuse. Want to ask my friend, 19F, out, now that she's a girl, but worried I'll, 20M, hurt her feelings. Players involved are me, 20M, and Violet, 19F. So, my friend Violet started transitioning at the very beginning of the first lockdown. She told all of us in a close-knit friend group about her name, pronouns, etc., and we all had a mini Discord party for her to celebrate. We've kept in touch through lockdown via Discord, and multiplayer games, but we're not really the webcam kind, so we've not seen each other's faces in a while. One of my friends pointed this out, and we all had a night where we got on camera to hang out. Guys, she's stunning. I hadn't seen her since she was still going by her dead name, and by her own admission, she never cared about how she looked then. Now that she can be her real self, she looks incredible. She has her hair styled, and makeup, and got her ears pierced. I think she's started waxing her eyebrows. She's also my type, dark hair, 50s style rockabilly, with plans for piercings and tattoos once lockdown is over. So I stared at her like a lunatic for a good 5 minutes and had to pretend my camera had frozen. Anyway, here's the issue. A couple years ago, before she transitioned, Violet asked me out. I turned her down, because I'm straight, I'm pretty ambiguous looking, a lot of people think I'm gay, and she was kind of hurt by it. We agreed to still be friends, and we are. She's probably my best friend in the world. She took a little break from the group while her feelings were still raw, but when she came back, it was all fine. And now I want to ask her out, but I really don't know how, or whether I even should. It's not just about her looks, by the way. Since she transitioned, she's so happy, and just being around her makes me grin like a dumbass. She's already super smart and kind. I'm just worried that she'll think I only care about her looks, since I didn't want to date her while she was presenting as a dude. I don't know how to explain that she's like a totally different person, being allowed to be who she always really was. And I guess if I'm honest, some of it is about her looks, because if it wasn't, I'd have been interested in her when she was still presenting as male. I'm super confused, and could use some advice. Bottom line is, whatever happens, I don't want to make things awkward for Violet. She's got enough going on as it is without me making it worse. Too long didn't read. Friend asked me out before she transitioned. I said no. She's transitioned, and I want to ask her out. I am dumb. Help me. I mean, you said yourself you're straight. Sexuality is at the end of the day a hard-coded preference. You're gay, straight, bi, pan, whatever. Or even if you don't like labels, still can't change that part of you. I think it would make sense if you're now attracted to her because she's now in your category of sexual preference. The biggest key is likely making sure you're not coming across as fetishizing her because she's trans. I can't say for sure because I'm cis, so feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. but I feel like that's going to be way more hurtful than you being attracted to her, because again, you're a straight dude who's only attracted to women, which she now is. Ask her out and tell us what happens, lol. Violet asked me out. I turned her down, because I'm straight. Honestly, I think your new attraction to her might help her feel more comfortable. It reinforces her instinct THST the two of you had a connection, and also recognizes and validates her gender considering your sexual orientation. There might be some complex feelings, but I think she might be grateful to hear that you are attracted to her true self and not the person she appeared to be as and someone who was a mab. It might actually be very affirming of her gender for you to broach the subject. Go for it, mate. You might regret not making a move later. Good luck. Caught my brother, 8M, playing with his butt and feces. Since about 6 months ago, he has been having accidents in his pants. 2 weeks ago he pooped his pants and had it smeared all over his chest, which everyone in the family was very confused about. This evening I, 18F, came into the living room to see him watching gaming videos with his pants pulled down and his hands in his butt. The room smelled horribly like feces. I asked him what he was doing and he got very defensive and said he was just trying to have fun. I don't want to give him any type of shame as a child, so I immediately turned on my nice voice and encouraged him to wash his hands and his remote and reminded him to never put his hands in his mouth after doing that. I think maybe this is why he has his accidents and that it's been happening for a while. I'm afraid to tell my parents because he already responded to me very ashamed and avoidant, and my parents are not the type to be sensitive about anything that is foreign/uncomfortable to them. I'm not sure if this is merely a pleasure thing or if something else medical is going on. How do I approach this without leaving any emotional scarring? ? He has no mental disabilities or anything. Edit, told my mom, she's adamant that he's only scratching his butt BC he doesn't wipe properly. Not sure what more I can do if she won't listen to my concerns. Definitely tell your parents about this. You should see a doctor or a counselor. This could be an indication of some sort of abuse happening to him. Her mother is disregarding it, which makes me wonder if she, or their father, is the abuser. This is very common with child sex abuse. It more so concerns me that he said that he just trying to have fun. Why does he think it's fun? Implications of this are so very sad and disturbing. Frown. This is a pretty big red flag indicating possible sexual abuse in a kid that age. I would tell your parents and have them bring him to a counselor or doctor. No, it's not because he doesn't wipe properly. This started in the last 6 months. There has to be a reason for it. I don't know what that reason is, but he can't have been wiping properly for the past 4 years and then suddenly be doing it wrong. Your brother needs medical and psychological help. Emphasize to your parents that he's putting your household at risk because he's likely getting fecal matter everywhere in the house. Children very rarely start these kinds of regressive behaviors for no reason. Whether it's abuse of some kind, or bullying, or anxiety, or a medical issue he can't articulate, or God knows what else, there's a reason behind it and it needs to be addressed by professionals.